The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
And welcome to On Cue. I'm your host, Eric Olson. Glad you're with us. On today's program, we look back at some great news moments with Austin Daily Herald photographer Eric Johnson. And I'm looking forward to Geoff Smith telling us more about Vision 2020 and his plans to boost community pride. But we begin with Randy Kehr and a critique of the Job Z Economic Development Program. Coming up next on Cue.
From KSMQ Television in Austin, this is On Cue, connecting interesting issues and interesting people. On Cue.
The Job Z Economic Development Program, it stands for Job Opportunity Building Zone, Job Z, provides local and state tax exemptions to qualified companies that start up or expand in targeted areas of greater Minnesota. There are 10 job zones comprising more than 29,000 acres in about 325 communities in Minnesota. Each zone includes acres for primarily manufacturing, value-added, or high-paying service businesses. One such zone is in Albert Lea, and Randy Kehr, Executive Director of the Albert Lea Freeborn County Chamber of Commerce, is here to tell us how that's worked out for them. Hi, Randy.
Good afternoon.
And for truth in labeling, we should say Randy's also a member of the KSMQ board. Thank you for your service to the board.
It's a great pleasure to be on the board.
Talking Job Z, we've heard that it's been around a long time. I mean, I've heard that term, and I knew it had to do with economic development. We were chatting beforehand. It came up during the Pawlenty administration. It was an idea to help grow business.
Right, and it was not an original idea. Governor Pawlenty borrowed ideas from Michigan and Pennsylvania and created this legislation for greater Minnesota. The metropolitan area was not eligible for it.
And from 2004 to now, there's been hemming and hawing, maybe because of that metro exclusion, but we don't know. There's been some talk, well, maybe it's not that great a program and it's set to sunset in a couple of years. How's it going? Well, in Freeborn County, folks, it's been going pretty well.
Well, we kind of think of ourselves as the poster child for Job Z. We've created right at 850 jobs over the last 11 years. We've probably in capital improvements, investment in the community, the companies have spent $51 million in terms of, creating other jobs with construction projects, et cetera. So it's been wildly successful.
It's a starter. It's like a seed, a way to grow jobs.
Absolutely. It's some tax breaks, and there have been a few bumps in the road. There was one company that never made the grade, but there is a clawback feature in it as well. But now, unfortunately, it's reaching the end of its effectiveness. There's really not enough time left in the program to have it be effective.
Now, I always wondered what Chamber of Commerce people did, of course, in all my years. I figured maybe they shake hands at stuff, cut ribbons.
Yeah. Well, we do that too.
Right, but my gosh, folks, this is detailed analysis, numbers.
Yeah.
You have this entire report, an audit of all of the economic activity just in the Jobs Z area. And it's really quite remarkable when you look at it from Freeborn County from 2005 to 2012. There's just on this sheet alone a half a dozen companies, Larson Manufacturing, Albert Lea Select Foods, others that have all grown substantially and from the beginning of the program.
Right, absolutely. And I think, first of all, I wish I had created that report.
Oh, I can't give you credit for that?
No, I can't give you credit. Ryan Nolander from Alita in Albert Lea creates that report every year as required by the state, so they can see that the jobs have been created and that other investment has been made. And probably the best story in there is Albert Lea Select Foods, because they will tell you right to your face that were it not for Job Z, they would have been Clear Lake Select Foods. And as you can see on there, they started out with 50 projected jobs, and today they're on the way to 600 jobs.
Yeah, 540 right now. So it's because you saved them money at the get-go, at the beginning? Is that the big draw?
That's correct. That is the big draw. There are tax exemptions, local property tax, some state tax, tax on equipment. All of those things factor into allowing them to build and grow in a little more cost-effective manner.
Now, I'll throw another acronym in here just from my days as a reporter. It's one that I know.
Oh, okay.
The TIF district, Tax Increment Financing District.
Right.
I think there's kind of they're similar, are they not?
Well,
or
they're a little
city
bit different.
governments do
City
this sometimes?
governments do TIFs.
Okay.
And where this was a state program that took endorsement by the city, they had to approve the project. But TIF districts are a little bit different, and really everyone has those. So you can do that, not for retail, but for certain projects you can do it. And Job Z was a much stronger program.
And now it's up for. Well, there hasn't been a lot of excitement. Is that how we can say it, to renew Job Z, or not really?
I think there just simply hasn't been enough motivation on the part of the overall legislature, because it has been painted with probably the broad brush of it's not a good program, where clearly here in Freeborn County it has been.
Yeah.
But so there's been a move to create something that is statewide.
Including the metro area.
Including
that's
the metro
the big
area.
deal.
Right, and there's some problems with that, because typically when programs, whether it be jobs programs or angel investment tax credits, those are all they all tend to be grabbed up by the metro because it's easier to fulfill the requirements. For example, in one of the proposals before the legislature now, you would have to create jobs at $18 an hour. Well, in the metro area, $18 an hour means one thing. When you're down in Albert Lea or Mower County,
that's huge difference.
There's a big difference between what $18 an hour will buy.
So it's even the rules of the possibility of getting the money that puts us out of play.
That is really the devil in the details, as they say. The rules can be a real problem.
And you've had support locally from Representative Savick, Senator Sparks. You've been meeting with them?
Absolutely, trying to find a solution that will work for greater Minnesota.
So what can folks do watching? Is there any action they can take if they say, I agree with this? Or
Well, I think sending a note to your legislators, reinforcing the fact that greater Minnesota is in need of this kind of economic development tool. Our playing field is not the same, and particularly here in the border communities where we're competing with Iowa, who has really strong economic development policies. They're able to do all sorts of things that we can't do. Without Job Z, the playing field is no longer level.
Really? So that you play a border problem? You've got it border and the metro problem.
Absolutely. We constantly struggle with businesses that look at Minnesota, but we just don't have the economic development tools any longer. Because Job Z is set to sunset, it's really not advantageous to the business to use it. There have been little ones that have done something, but truthfully, we need a comprehensive greater Minnesota economic development package.
Which is interesting, because when we chat, you and I, there are all these really interesting businesses in Freeborn County and Albert Lea that have grown and are providing national type services with hundreds of employees, and they've chosen to be here.
Absolutely. If you tell the Mrs. Jerry's story, which started out 40 years ago, and now services, I think they're up to 15 states with over 100 products based out of a simple potato salad 40 years ago. That's the way companies have grown. We're very, and we're growing today. Mrs. Jerry's just added 37,000 square feet of warehouse space. So things are happening and we continue to grow. I think we created 80-some jobs just in the last year, just in the Job Z program. And that doesn't include people like Mrs. Jerry's and many other companies too.
Thanks, Randy.
It's been a pleasure.
Randy Kehr, Executive Director of the Albert Lea Freeborn County Chamber of Commerce. And we'll be back with more of On Cue right after this short break.
You can watch On Cue anytime by visiting the KSMQ TV website, ksmq.org.
And welcome back to On Cue. Well, here in the television world, we mostly go with moving pictures. That's the nature of our business. But we're going to spend a few minutes now on a little more of a creative pursuit, the still image, still photography, and how it can help advance a story, tell a story from the newspaper perspective. And we're welcoming a special guest here. You probably recognize him if you've been to any sporting event, news event, downtown city council, you name it over the years. Eric Johnson, Austin Daily Herald photographer. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I first met you at the Austin basketball games last year. I'd see you running around taking good pictures. And do you become a fan of things you cover or not really?
Well, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. It's when this isn't the big time. This isn't the big papers. So you see these people on a more daily basis, and so you kind of become invested long enough with what they're doing, and you get a little excited.
Sure.
There's some fist pumps from here time to time. And, it's fun. It helps to keep it fun.
Now, how did you get involved? Were you always interested in photography, or was it something that came to you at older, like after high school, or how'd you get interested?
It kind of creeped up on me. I went to South Dakota State University just for mass comm, and ran into a couple things that helped change my mind. One was the photography instructor. They only had 2 photography classes. His name was Frank Klock, and he was of the mindset that if you're interested in this, we'll open up the lab in the studio anytime you want. So there would be nights anytime during the week where I'd be up there with 3 or 4 people just shooting away or toning, or this was back in we didn't have a lot of Photoshop access, so we were still doing things the old school way with the big cameras and whatnot, looking down.
Pre-digital?
Pre-digital. Yep, pre-digital. We were still using film, and then another one was a good buddy of mine, Brent McCowan, who we kind of partnered for a while there in school, and then we worked at the same job right out of college together. So he just kind of, when he couldn't shoot something, I'd fill in for him, and it started to grow from there.
Do you remember, was there one image that you took it and went, wow, this is really cool. I like doing this.
It's weird you bring that up because there was. We had a very small college in Huron University, and I can still see it today. It was their setter for their volleyball team, Amy Sauter. In fact, I didn't remember her name, and I just caught her. She was jumping up in the air and she was setting at the same time. And we got back and I looked at the image and thought, I could do this for the rest of my life.
Wow.
So it's kind of a frozen moment in time.
And that's what all photos are.
Yeah.
They're
little moments. It's a lot of things happen from one second to the next. It's realizing that moment when you get to it that really kind of defines it.
You came to the Daily Herald in 2004.
April.
Just about almost 10 years now, and you've taken, grown, I suppose, gone. Were you digital all here, or was it film here?
No,
you were all digital.
We were all digital here. In fact, I had been digital for about, I want to say 3 years at the Plainsman in Huron. before coming here.
Okay.
Some pretty bulky equipment, but when I came here, they had their own digital supply. So.
And Eric has brought a few of his favorite images to share with us. Here's one. Is this year, the Austin dance team?
Last year.
Okay. And now, folks, you have to know that this is going to happen, right, Eric? Because you can't be on the sideline shooting. You had to rush out there right with the squad.
You know, I didn't. It's the section or conference dance competition. I can't remember which. I believe it's the conference now that I think about it. And all the teams, they line up together, side by side as the results are being read off. And we've had this competition here before, and it's kind of about remembering. And you got to remember too that these are high school girls, a dance team. They're energetic. You know they're going to explode when something good happens. So I was literally standing there just waiting.
Right.
For them to, and they just didn't disappoint, as you can see.
But you have to make the decision to go out and get in the face of people sometimes when other people would not be, I don't want to get too close. To get that shot, you have to get in there sometimes.
You do, and it's, depending on the subject matter, they're not really going to care.
This is from last summer in Austin, a little more serious tone.
2009, actually.
09,
Yep,
sorry.
this goes back away. Yep, this is Sam Johnson. He was holding a number of rallies that summer for against anti-immigration and various other things, and he was an energetic person to shoot. You just kind of put it in his direction, and he was going to do something, and he was actually responding to some people who were yelling at him. He was trying to just give his speech, do his spiel, and someone started heckling him, and he responded in kind and started pointing.
And the tattoos are an interesting element that you captured also.
Yeah, it was definitely an intense summer because he held a number of these things, and they were.
Do you
pretty
ever
intense.
worry about personal safety or that kind of thing?
There's been a couple times. At this time, I didn't. There were Austin police already there. And I actually knew Sam a little bit, and I knew that because we had to correspond with him a couple times and actually deal with him. I kind of knew that he wasn't going to do anything to me because I wasn't doing anything
or not
against
just that,
him.
but any like a fire or anything like that where you worry about things.
You do a little bit. So much of it is just common sense. It's understanding where to be at that point in time, and believe me, they will tell you. I can't even tell you how many times I've been yelled at. To move, to get out of the way.
You aren't doing your job unless you're getting yelled at.
Yeah, it's a dance that you run with them sometimes. You just kind of move when they tell you, but otherwise just keep track of your surroundings.
Fire downtown?
Yep, downtown, January, and God, I want to say that's 2009 too. It's been a while. Things started running together, but yep, that was me, myself, and the reporter at the time, Katie Johnson, arrived. We were, for all intents and purposes, we were first on the scene. We noticed the smoke. In fact, we were sitting at the stoplights.
I was going to say, how did it happen? Were you on another story?
We were coming back from something, and it had been a long day. We were both tired. The assignment we were coming from wasn't the most exciting thing in the world, so we were just kind of sitting there waiting for the light to turn. And I looked over and I saw what I thought was steam at first coming from the building, and didn't think much of it. Well, it started to get heavier and heavier and darker, and I asked Katie, is that smoke? And she said something and said, yeah, sure is. And we quickly pulled it over, and by the time we got pulled over and got the car parked and got out, then we started to see the flames. And the rest is kind of history. I think a lot of people remember it.
This one is just much more of the personal side to me. Mm-hmm. I think this image has so much more personality on a cold day. These guys looking for reinforcements, perhaps.
They were. It was kind of a lighter moment. I don't want to say this was a light situation. No one was laughing, but these guys have been at it since, I want to say around 3 or 4 o'clock the afternoon prior. And this is something like 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And they were cold and tired, and there was a team off to their right, and that's what they're looking at. And they were just kind of joking and having a rare light moment. And I was kind of kneeling there when it happened.
And having a person in the forefront, that usually helps a picture, doesn't it, to have people in the
story? It does. It gives you perspective. And you kind of feel along with him. You're tired. It's a lot of snow, a lot of ice, and he's just kind of staring at it or looking at it, looking for hot spots. And and the whole thing just, you kind of feel like this is the aftermath. This is kind of it.
The color there. Protest, it looks like, of some
And again, I don't think it was the same one of Sam Johnson where he's pointing. There was a couple of them that summer, and this is a different one. And the police had to come over and kind of tell the crowd to settle down, and everything was going fairly well for something like this. And then someone in the back threw something, and they went in and put an end to it.
And you had pepper spray. You were fighting. Getting that stuff was in your eyes.
I wasn't paying attention to where the wind was coming from, and so when they sprayed it, some of it got kicked back into my face. And so by the time they got done wrestling some people to the ground and getting them handcuffed and whatnot, I had tears streaming down my face, and I was relying on autofocus to get all the shooting taken care of.
Eric, it's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you.
And thanks for sharing some of your art here with us, and continued success.
No problem.
Enjoy seeing you around on other stories.
You bet. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
All right, Eric Johnson from the Austin Daily Herald. And we will be back with our weekly Vision 2020 update when we come right back.
Queue up your own comments for On Cue and send them to us at onq@ksmq.org. On Cue's Vision 2020 segment is brought to you by Hormel Foundation, Games People Play, and Turtle Creek Estates.
And welcome back to On Cue. I'm Eric Olson. Time now for our weekly Vision 2020 update, and we're going to move to community pride and spirit. We need a little boost at the moment. Geoff Smith's here, one of the chairs. Chair, co-chair?
Nope, just a member? Just a committee member.
It's quite a group. You have a lot riding on community spirit for Vision 2020. You have several exciting projects going on. And most of the time on this update, we talk about what the committee is doing on its own, if it's working. But here you're working with others, which is a big part of Vision 2020, also partnering with several other agencies on an exciting project.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely not like reinventing the wheel or creating things from scratch. That's our mission. A big part of it is just to work with existing community members and organizations. So in this case, the Habitat for Humanity is a big player, and the HRA out of Austin. They're both helping us get organized and kind of run with this rock the block idea. It's something that they did in Albert Lea last year, and they're doing it again this year.
And I was excited because I thought it was going to be a rock concert.
It is not a rock concert.
It's not.
That's a good idea. Concert. We'll have to tell Kristen, our chair. I bet she would run with that.
But what is Rock the Block then, for folks that don't know?
So it's a very focused neighborhood kind of beautification and improvement project. So there's going to be a lot of exterior work on houses, painting, fixing sidewalks, maybe some tree trimming, roofs. Kind of depends on what the homeowners are interested in. It's really based a lot on how Habitat for Humanity usually goes to work. They have the Brush with Kindness program. So a lot of people don't realize that they do stuff other than just build new houses. So in this case, they are providing the labor, a lot of volunteers. There will be some sweat equity from homeowners, and they can get like really low cost materials, or HRA may be able to set up low interest loans, but it's a very focused area. That's why the Rock the Block. So I think it's exactly 2nd Avenue Northeast, 8th through 10th Street.
Okay.
So that like couple blocks right in there is at least at this point, that's the plan, that this summer we're going to be talking to homeowners over there and seeing if they're interested in being part of this.
To bring the community to one specific area in hopes of getting attention and beautifying one part of the city.
And kind of get a track record established to show that, hey, this was very effective. Look at the difference it made in this one area, and then we can do it again someplace else or expand it. But kind of do it once first and see how it goes.
Great, that's exciting. Here's another thing exciting. Be on the lookout for one of these. It says, it's a little business card thing, and it says, you've been tagged to spread the spirit, Vision 2020. What's that all about, Geoff?
So that's a pay it forward kind of program that we're doing just locally. And again, it's just that idea that you do something kind or generous for somebody, kind of a random act of kindness, and then you give them the card and they pay it forward.
So they can get, where do people find these cards or something? Or
Well, we're going to try to get them to a lot of the local churches.
Oh, okay.
Anybody that's on the committee would have them, or so they might have to just go to the website if they don't know. But if they see me or somebody else, they can always ask for them.
And what's the community pride and spirit angle to doing something like this?
So basically, just helping people to be happy in the community and feel that love.
Mm-hmm. So you might find this, if you find this on your car downtown, I don't know, maybe somebody did something nice for you.
Yeah,
or
maybe
something.
they
Is that the
shoveled
deal?
your sidewalk and
Okay.
left that in your door, or bought you. One example that I heard was they'd bought the coffee for the next person in line for them at the coffee shop.
Okay.
Things like that. Just little acts of kindness.
Very nice. Well, Geoff Smith, thank you very much for your service and for coming on to On Cue here.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay, great. And that'll do it for us right now. I'm Eric Olson. Thanks again for joining us for On Cue. See you next time.
On Cue is a production of KSMQ Television in Austin, nonprofit public television.